Hi Libra Sun, Moon and Risings. Welcome to your November 2022 horoscope. My name is Cailin and today I'm going to be covering all of the major transits for the month ahead, and I'll be using tropical astrology and the whole sign system. So you can watch this horoscope if you are a Libra ascendant, also known as rising sign, if you are a Libra sun, and if you are a Libra moon. I would always recommend that you watch all three horoscopes for your sun, moon, and rising sign, just to give you a really good idea of what to expect for the month ahead. And generally speaking, I do find that the rising sign horoscope is the most accurate for you overall. Of course, there are exceptions to that. Sometimes people connect more to their sun or to their moon. Now, let's begin with Mars being retrograde. So Mars will station retrograde on the 30th or the 31st of October, depending where you live in the world, and it will be retrograde in Gemini in your ninth house. It will actually be retrograde for 10 weeks until the 12th of January in 2023. Fortunately for Libras, this means Mars is trining you. So generally speaking, Mars retrogrades can lead to frustrating times and feeling a little bit irritable or agitated. But because Mars is making a trine to you and it is a harmonious aspect, Libras have an easier time with this one. Nevertheless, Mars retrograde in your ninth house indicates to me that you will be focusing your energy and your effort into matters connected to higher learning, whether this is a university degree, something that you want to learn. Maybe you are a teacher yourself, or you're trying to be a mentor to someone, or this could be connected to your plans to travel, maybe obtain a visa. Also, the ninth house represents our belief systems. So this indicates that you may feel a bit conflicted when it comes to things like your religious beliefs or your spiritual beliefs or political beliefs, or you may even be facing some kind of moral or ethical dilemma during this period of time. Now, the ninth house is also connected to the law. So I'm going to run through a few different ways that this retrograde can play out. But just so you're aware, Mars will be in Gemini from the 20th of August. So it's been there for 2 months already until the end of March in 2023. So that's a 7-month transit. So on the educational front, this could see you potentially going back to study. Maybe you are re-enrolling in a course, maybe you had deferred university, maybe you quit years and years ago and now you're like, it's time for me to go back. On a different note, you may be trying to transfer from one degree or area of study to another. So this is where the retrograde's coming into effect, where you're reassessing and readjusting your plans and your goals because it's Mars. On a different note, you could be going through the process of editing a thesis or a large body of work, or some of you could actually be resitting an important test for your studies. Usually I would look at the third house for tests and exams, but because this is in the sign of Gemini, Gemini is connected to those things, that could be the case for you in this instance. So maybe you failed a university subject and you have to repeat it. And on a different note, if you had already committed to, let's say, a thesis or an area of study, you may be asked to revise what you were going to do your thesis on, and there may just be some changes, some pretty significant changes that you need to make within your degree. And the same can be said for if you are a mentor or a teacher yourself, this could be a time where you're going through the editing process, or you could be audited. You could just have to make lots and lots of adjustments to how you were teaching. Now, on a different note, I don't know if I said this already, but you could be applying for a degree or to get into a certain college or university or just some form of higher education. This application process could be quite lengthy. It could be a very long interview process. And maybe the same can be said for if you are wanting to progress in your career, if it is in the education industry. So maybe this is at the university that you work at. Maybe you want to change the subjects that you teach. Maybe you want to become a dean or have more responsibility. Now, on a different level, with respect to your belief systems, this could see you trying to really deprogram yourself and decondition yourself and unlearn spiritual or religious beliefs, or just, beliefs that you don't connect with anymore. Maybe these were really indoctrinated into you or your family, and now you're like, no, that's not right. I don't want to subscribe to this belief anymore. And maybe you feel like you were really quite conditioned by this, and this could be impacting your life in a really big way, especially with respect to money and resources, given that Mars rules over the second house. Or this could even be with relationships, with Mars ruling over your seventh house. So for some of you, you could actually be applying to be accepted into, let's say, a position of leadership, which is connected to a religious faith or to your spiritual beliefs. So it doesn't mean that, you're going all against your spiritual beliefs or your religious beliefs. It could just be you're replacing one with another, or you're doubling down on it and you're having to put more effort into what it is that you believe in. Now, the ninth house is connected to travel, tourism, adventures, and going on journeys. So for some of you, you could be spending a lot of money on planning a trip. So this is like your travel itinerary, with Mars ruling over your second house of finances, being in the ninth house in retrograde. It's like you're, just tapping with your credit card and paying for all of these expenses. On a different note, even if you're not planning a trip, if you are currently living in a foreign country, so this is not the country that you were born in or that you were raised in, this can see there being some more expenses while you're living abroad. And for some of you, you could actually be working quite hard to obtain a visa. So I'm saying this because the ninth house is connected to foreign countries. And we've got Mars ruling over the seventh house, which is connected to contracts and therefore visas, because we're tying in that seventh and ninth house together. So this can see you going through, once again, a lengthy application process or interview process. If you were unsuccessful initially, good news, this is a good time to give it another go, because we've got that retrograde bringing it back up. Now, the ninth house, like I said earlier, is connected to the law. You could be appealing a court decision, so trying to get it reversed, trying to get it overturned. You could be countersuing someone, or you could be pulling your resources, given that Mars rules over the second house, in order to bring a legal case against another person, with Mars ruling over your seventh house. So with this last one, I'm just saying that you may not be ready to take action yet. Maybe you're planning to do this, later in January, February, or perhaps even after March, after Mars has left the sign of Gemini. And now let's have a look at the full moon eclipse. So on the 8th of November, there will be a total lunar eclipse in Taurus in your 8th house at 15 degrees and 59 minutes. So it will be conjunct Uranus, almost exactly conjunct Uranus, and it will also be opposite Mercury and opposite Venus. So that means that the sun will be conjunct Venus and Mercury in the sign of Scorpio in your second house. So eclipses in the 8th house conjunct Uranus indicates that you can have a huge psychological breakthrough. Okay, with Uranus ruling over your 5th house, which is connected to dating, romance, children, as well as creativity and anything you create. So, starting your own business, if you have been in a rut or some kind of funk in any of those departments, this can see you snapping out of it. So, I would imagine that many Libras, especially because Venus is opposite the eclipse or conjunct the sun, will feel like they are just having some kind of huge, um, huge shift. You can really take a quantum leap during this period of time. So you can have an enormous breakthrough, whether this is on a personal level with your own personal transformation. Maybe you're working with a psychologist, maybe you're working with a psychiatrist or some kind of therapist or counselor. You could experience this breakthrough via an astrology reading or a tarot reading, whether this is you doing your own readings for yourself or getting a reading with an astrologer or tarot reader. P.S. I do private readings, so you can book one using the link in the description box below. On a different level, though, this can see you having a breakthrough in your emotional life or in your intimate life or, with respect to your sexuality. So this can see you having a breakthrough when it comes to your emotional vulnerability with another person. And even if you're not with another person, this is like your openness to experience, especially with this conjunction to Uranus and Uranus ruling over your 5th house. So maybe you're understanding the ways in which you may have been holding back, and now you feel like you're actually ready to meet someone or ready to take a relationship to the next level, or maybe to become intimate with another person, whether this is for the first time ever, the first time with a new person, the first time in a very long time, or even with your own, even if you're already in a relationship, things can improve in that department. Some of you may have an intense mystical or occult experience which really changes you to the core of your being. So the 8th house is connected to mystery, healing modalities of all kinds, anything to do with the occult. So I do really see this as you just being able to have some kind of breakthrough. And maybe, this is quite a different astrology reading to what other people have been saying about this eclipse, but nevertheless, because Uranus rules over your 5th house, which is such a lucky house in astrology, and it's opposite Mercury, and Mercury rules over your 9th house, which is another lucky house. I just see there being some good juju in terms of helping you to shift out of some kind of funk or rut that you have been in. Of course, it's not going to all be sunshine and rainbows. Eclipses can bring very unexpected events. So there could be an unpredictable change of circumstances, whether this is in your personal life, whether this is to do with your business or certain relationships that you're in, or with your resources. So let's talk about resources, because the 8th house is connected to your mutual resources. This can see you cutting someone off financially speaking, or the reverse of that could be true. So someone could be, ceasing to provide financial support to you, or maybe you just won't have access to the same level of resources that you did before. I'm saying this because full moon eclipses, especially when they're total lunar eclipses, they indicate the ending of a chapter taking place. But this eclipse is with the North Node. So generally speaking, the North Node will deliver something new to you. So it could be that as one door closes, another door opens. So even if a certain type of resource, which you shared with another person, was something that you used to enjoy or have access to, and that's closing off, it could be that there is a new a new resource that becomes available to you, or a new way to make money. You could be making money off of a joint investment. You could be cashing it in. Some of you may be receiving an inheritance. Some of you could be making some final changes to your will, as in, maybe you were going back on a previous decision and now you're like, no, this is what I want to do going forwards. On a different note, this could see some of you actually falling pregnant, especially because your chart ruler is involved heavily in this transit, and the 8th house is connected to pregnancy and fertility. I'm actually going to tell you exactly what degree Venus is at. Okay, so we've got Mercury at 15 degrees, Venus at 20 degrees, Scorpio. So this involves your chart ruler. It is in this eclipse is in your 8th house, which, like I said, is connected to fertility and giving birth. So, on one hand, you could be falling pregnant, you could be giving birth. If you are due to give birth around the time of the eclipse, and of course, this is a general reading, eclipses can sort of indicate that birth comes through with the eclipse. So, just prepare accordingly. I'm sure you're all prepared if you are pregnant. And lastly, with this eclipse, this can see you overcoming an addiction or releasing a fear. And because this eclipse is conjunct Uranus, it can be overnight. As surprising as that sounds, you could go cold turkey on something that you are addicted to, and you could just be suddenly liberated from some kind of fear or persistent insecurity that you have been experiencing. So now let's take a look at the 16th of November, when we're going to see Venus enter the sign of Sagittarius. So Venus will be in your 3rd house in Sagittarius from the 16th of November until the 10th of December. Wherever Venus goes, first of all, this is where we can experience enjoyment. This is where things can go well or more easily. And because Venus is your chart ruler, Libra, Venus's actions impact you directly. Venus is you, so to speak. So with Venus being in the 3rd house, this indicates to me that you will be enjoying time with friends, maybe with siblings and co-workers. You may actually make some new friends. You could be catching up with a group of friends as well, given that the 3rd house rules over small groups of people. Maybe you'll be socializing with some co-workers. On a different note, this can see you maybe even going on a short trip with a friend or with a sibling, or maybe even like a cousin or an auntie or an uncle, or perhaps this is a work trip that you are going on. Now, this could see you enjoying learning something new or putting your skills to use. So you could be doing something creative around this time, like working on a creative project. It could be connected to something Venusian, such as cooking, dancing, music, something artistic, drawing, painting, etc. The 3rd house is connected to social media and technology. So you could be changing up the aesthetic or just enjoying the creative process when it comes to maybe a website that you run or a blog that you write. Maybe you're filming videos, maybe you're vlogging. And for some of you, you could just feel very creatively inspired to write, because the 3rd house is connected to writing and communications. So now on the 19th of November, Mars is going to make a square to Neptune. So Mars will be retrograde in Gemini in your 9th house, and it will be squaring Neptune in Pisces in your 6th house at 22 degrees. Now, this transit will actually occur 3 times. We've already experienced the first square, which was on the 12th of October, which was 8 days ago. This is the second square on the 19th of November. And the third and final square will be it will be on the 14th of March in 2023. So this square can indicate confusion, which is Neptune, when it comes to the action that we should be taking or that we want to be taking, which is Mars. So first of all, with Neptune in your sixth house, this could be in relation to work, employees, people that you've hired, your health, loans, and also your daily habits and routines. So a Mars Neptune square, especially with Neptune being in your sixth house, can indicate fatigue or just feeling like your energy levels are depleted or lowered. So I would advise that you do take it easy around the 19th of November, plus or minus a couple of days. This square can be quite confusing, and, we may feel like we have all the information or all the facts, but, invariably, Neptune can just be quite deceptive or make us feel a bit foggy or hazy. On a different note, this particular transit can see you feeling like it is harder to carry out your routines and your duties and responsibilities and obligations. Maybe you feel like there are too many people who are dependent on you and you're spreading yourself thin and you want to have time for you. On a different note, you may actually need to sacrifice some of your workload or give up some of your duties and responsibilities. Because maybe you're looking at the big picture, which is Mars in the ninth house, and going, I just need to give something up. I simply cannot accomplish all of this, or certainly not during this period of time. So some of you may decide to take a bit of time off of work or uni. Uni is what Australians call university because we abbreviate everything. So yeah, you could be taking time off from study or off from work just to have maybe a mental health day or to just focus on having a bit of quiet time. So moving on though, lastly for the month, on the 23rd or the 24th of November, depending where you live in the world, there will be a new moon in Sagittarius in your third house, and it will be at 1 degrees. So this new moon looks extremely exciting to me because it will be conjunct Venus and Mercury. Venus, of course, being your ruling planet. So even though we have regular new moons and full moons every month, when they are conjunct our chart ruler, so for you, anytime a new moon or full moon is conjunct Venus or making a very close aspect to Venus, you're going to feel it. So a new moon in the third house is exciting because the third house is connected to education, learning, and skills, learning new skills, learning new talents, or putting your talent to practical use, I should say. The third house is also connected to writing and communications. So this is also like technology. Maybe you want to develop an app, start a website, start your own business, take a short course. So you could be enrolling in a new course. You could be learning a new skill. You could be starting a new social media account or platform, or you could be taking your existing blog, website, social media account, or even just like what you normally write about in a new direction, because a new moon in Sagittarius is all about exploring something new, and new moons are about new things anyway. So this could see you reinventing yourself, whether this is online, whether this is writing about a new topic, especially if you're literally a writer or a journalist or what have you. So for some of you, yes, you could be enrolling in a short course, or you could be the trainer, you could be the educator, you could be the one who is developing new course material. So maybe you are going to be teaching in some capacity. Now, some of you may be forming a new team. You could be collaborating with a group, whether this is like-minded individuals, friends, given that we've got Venus, co-workers, given that we've got Mercury, and maybe you are the leader in this group. You're the pioneer. Maybe you're the one that is forming it, especially because this new moon is conjunct Venus, which is you. On a different note, with the whole class stuff and course stuff, you could be enrolling with a friend or with a sibling. Now, the third house is connected to siblings and relatives. So relatives meaning like extended relatives, cousins, aunties, uncles, etc. You could be wiping the slate clean with them, or you could be planning to do something with them. It could be something fun as well. Maybe you're planning a short trip or journey, whether this is with them or with friends. And I say this because the third house is connected to short trips and journeys. Now, the third house, like I said before, is connected to communications. And because this new moon is conjunct Mercury, which is also indicative of writing, this could see you deciding that you want to write a new book, write some new material. Maybe you want to film a documentary. Maybe you are writing a series, or, producing a TV series, if not a film. So there's so many different ways that this can play out. Just checking if I've missed something. Yes, if you own your own business or if you work in sales, this can see you coming up with a new product to sell. If you work in anything like PR, marketing, human resources, anything that involves your interpersonal skills, this can see you starting a new project in that department. Maybe you're rolling out some kind of new course, or maybe you are actually planning an event for the office, or planning some kind of event, just generally speaking. And basically, this can see you feeling like you have new inspiration when it comes to wanting to learn new things, just educate yourself on a host of different subjects. So, Libra, obviously, there's lots of ways that that new moon can play out. Lastly, for the month, I just want to say that on the 23rd or the 24th of November, literally just a few minutes after the new moon, Jupiter will actually station direct in the sign of Pisces, and this will be in your sixth house. So you will experience this, I believe, in a positive way. And I'm saying that because Jupiter is the greater benefic in astrology, and the house that it transits, it will bestow a blessing there. Now, fortunately for you, Jupiter is nearing its end in Pisces in your sixth house. So it'll be there for less than a month. It will actually ingress back into Aries on the 20th. Sorry, it will progress back into Aries on the 20th of December. So it will leave your sixth house for good for another 12 years. And now that Jupiter is leaving Pisces, this can see you actually experiencing the blessing on your health, on your work, whether this is obtaining new work, finding enjoyment and fulfillment out of your work. Some of you may actually just be walking away from a job, because Jupiter can be freedom and liberation. So you could be walking away from certain roles at work, or literally your job. You could be free of unpleasant duties, tasks, and responsibilities, as Jupiter is A, stationing direct, and B, moving on from the sign of Pisces. And if you have felt quite unmotivated when it comes to your habits or your health routines, or if you've been really good in upholding these habits and routines and you're like, where the hell are the results? Jupiter being direct can see you actually having tangible proof of the hard work that you've been putting in. And for those of you who've struggled to maintain a health habit or routine, Jupiter being direct will allow you to either pick that back up or have more success in that department. And so, Libra, that's all I have for you for November 2022. If you enjoyed this horoscope, please give the video a thumbs up. If you want to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. Enjoy your month ahead. And also, Libra, I've actually got 2023 yearly horoscopes, which I am in the process of editing. So these will be available for purchase by the time I go live next month. So enjoy November, and I'll see you guys in December.